5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, ladies and gentlemen, audience, this is not a typical I can't believe this is a podcast episode. We, myself, Chimik, and Soyboy, we're going to do something a little different today.
Whoa.
That's about the response I expected.
Yeah.
It's breaking news.
actually-
I don't know why you're so nonchalant about it. Mom found the freaking game jar, bro. I'm in trouble. I'm in timeout
speak for yourself.
indefinite.
Mom found your game jar. Mine's still very well hidden, thank you very much.
Mommy never found my game jar.
I divided my game jar into 7 pieces and I distributed them across the entirety of the 48 continental United States.
Oh
You
no,
never find them.
Mom found my Toho collection.
Now that's a sin, for sure.
So the idea behind this little game show, if you will, it's not really a game show, it's just more of discussion. We had this way back in the day. We never did it until now. The idea is we have a grab bag full of random categories.
A jar. Not
A jar, if you will. Well, I say bag because, you know, I have my own reasons, right? You have yours, I have mine. This is a jar in all but name. We just talk about things pertaining to a certain theme or a certain mechanic that you would find in games. So, for example, a thing that we might pull out of this jar is games with cool camera angles, which is kind of a, like a really innocuous kind of whatever thing, but the idea is to have a discussion about this one facet of games, just games in general, interactive media, and have that discussion be centered around whatever we pull out of this bag. So, like I said, an example might be cool camera angles. So we might bring up stuff like Grim Fandango. We might bring up stuff
Yeah, you get exciting
like,
fucking topics like camera angles. You ready for this
Yeah,
shit?
yeah. I really did just pick the dullest possible topic.
You could do like games with cats. Stray. Fuck yeah.
That one is almost purpose-built for Stray.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
like
just-
Stray and...
Actually, that's a good question. That is not... Well, we don't know what we're going to pick yet. That might be it. Who knows? So... we have a bag here. Soyboy and I are actually in person in the same area. We have a bag. Soyboy, you want to pull out of the bag? And
Yeah, we're gonna start this bad boy off.
Chimik and I are just going to froth at the mouth until you do it. Here we go.
There you go.
I've been
First
frosting.
topic is dialogue.
Oh, perfect. Sweet. All right, and then...
So what did you mean by dialogue? I guess
So
that-
just any game where the dialogue stands out. So that can be a game that is centered entirely around dialogue, like Secret of Monkey Island or Night in the Woods. Or it can just be a game that's, like an RPG, but it happens to have really good dialogue. So an example would be, I guess, The Witcher 3.
What was that one game? I want to say it's a Final Fantasy game, but I can't remember, where like they did a dub that was some of the worst voice acting ever.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
I think I
Well,
do.
That could be any number of
Do you know,
Japanese
Chimik? I
games.
cannot remember the name right now, but there was that one game where like everyone made fun of it because it was literally awful dialogue.
Wait,
It
was it a
just-
side scroller? Let me ask you this before you
No,
just jump
it was
in.
it was a 3D game.
It was a 3D
fully
game.
3D game.
Bad dialogue. Dude, that could be anything. Yeah, Jules is right.
Was it Deadly Premonition?
It could
I
be.
can't remember. I remember seeing the one clip of someone making fun of it.
You know what's funny is that there are also a lot of Western games. It's funny that the first thing we default to is games with the worst version of whatever we pulled out of the...
Well, because those are also memorable. To be fair, you remember the good ones, but you also remember you mostly remember the bad ones as well.
Easily. It's not bad per se, but Control by Remedy. Some of the dialogue is just really weirdly delivered. Like, it's really stilted. And I'm not just saying that because the janitor is like a Finnish dude. I mean, like, even the people who are like supposed to be Americans in the game.
Sound like Finnish people, yeah.
Insulting all of our Finnish audience, like one person.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
just delivered funny. But, so this topic can be either, written with no voice acting or voice acting, either way. And yeah, actually, now that you mentioned, I think it'd be funny to talk about all the worst examples of dialogue as well.
Okay, well, do you have one in mind that's actually good?
That's actually good. Yeah, Night in the Woods.
Okay.
So we can do round robin. We can do ping pong. However you want to do this discussion, but yeah, I'll open with Night in the Woods. I think as far as dialogue goes, there's definitely a fine line you have to walk between. Well, first of all, it depends on the kind of game you're making, right? And so Night in the Woods is set in this kind of rural ex-mining town that's going through industrial and economic changes, right? So it's kind of sort of like a
1930s Germany. Yeah.
yeah, sure. Bread costs like 3 gajillion euro. No, that's the premise for Night in the Woods, and it's almost like a belated Depression era that they're going through. So the dialogue itself kind of has to be grounded, but at the same time, if you have dialogue that's what's the word? I guess too grounded, then you don't really remember people. You don't remember characters, because if you try to write people like people talk in real life, I mean, we all say some stupid shit. I mean, hey, we as a podcast, we have 10 episodes worth of that. Yeah, so that's what real dialogue sounds like. And I think Night in the Woods perfectly kind of walks the line between these pretty heavy thematic subjects, like, you know, the thing I just mentioned, sort of industrial economic changes, personal, you know, tug of war between responsibilities and wants, and all that. And it does it very succinctly. Characters don't like go on long yick developer tirades about like Randian objectivism or some stupid shit like that. Like, they're very blunt, because the people in the town are, you know, very like work oriented. They're not like hoity-toity, but they're also funny. They're endearing. The character you play as, May, she's, you know, kind of a spaz, and a lot of that is displayed through like what you do in the game, but it's also like the way that she talks. And then you have like Beatrice, who's more kind of laid back and extremely jaded, and it's the way that she talks. If you look at, you know, the speech bubble is not only the words they say, but also the way that the text shows up in the speech bubble. Like, May might say something, and the text shows up really fast because she's like, you know, hyperactive, and then Beatrice might say something, or Angus might say something, and like the dialogue shows up a little slower, or it's like, you know, it's a certain color. Like Beatrice and Angus's text are like the like sort of dark reddish and sort of like a cool blue respectively. Like, they're calmer colors. Yeah, and so the game does a lot around the dialogue to facilitate the dialogue, which I think is neat. But the first example that comes to mind when I think of good dialogue in a game is absolutely Night in the Woods.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is honestly a fine line, like you were saying, between what is good, what is bad, and sometimes, honestly, and this is a good segue to mine. Mine's not a good example. There's sometimes that difference is you could have world class writing, but if you don't have the voice actors for it, like Soy Boy was saying, it could flop so hard it'll just fall right into your face. But on the other hand, my example, Yick, a postmodern adventure. The voice acting is actually really decent. A lot of the lines are read out really well. I think that you'll actually have a hard time finding people who can say the protagonist or any of the characters really have not amazing voice. I mean, they're not like, not gonna find the same stuff at Atlas, but like they are really solid. But the writing, oh boy. Oh boy, you can't find a more unlikable protagonist, I don't think, anywhere. I think, like, it's
not even
fine
hatred?
I mean, well, like, you're putting me in a tough
in a
spot,
bind there.
like an Alex Yick or hatred. Jeez, maybe I'll go with hatred. No, my take is really just this. You can have a solid start and everything just be in a real rough spot in the beginning, where it can all resolve by the end, where the main character can just go, yeah, I am an asshole, and then just move on, right? That never happens. So it's kind of like, you know, it's like a tense little fucking ball, and there's a rubber band, and you're expecting to explode, but then somebody just yoinks it out of your hand and goes, I'm sorry, man. Anyways, he just fucking heads off. But Soy Boy, what's yours?
You know, it's funny. This entire time while you two have been talking, I've been trying to think of a game.
Destiny 2.
No, even then, like, realistically...
Well, okay, you say nah, but then that's like, what did we just spend the last, like, 3 hours doing?
No, but here's the thing.
Well, tell the audience. Don't let them hit.
Like, realistically, just the Savala thing is just for, like, meme purposes. But, again, most of the games that I play are FPS games. And who cares about the dialogue in an FPS game? I have never really cared.
Clearly not Bungie.
Not
yeah,
Bungie.
fuck no. The Bungie, like, you know, I would say, you know, maybe the Devil May Cry series. I actually kind of like the dialogue, even though it was kind of edgy, even like now and even back then, like it was kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I actually kind of enjoyed just
Fill your
hearing
dark
Dante
heart with
talk
light.
shit to like anyone in his face. It was actually
Yeah.
pretty enjoyable memory growing up, especially because I had a cousin who was like really into it, and he got like really into like that whole like buying like swords and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember him as a child, like as a kid, seeing him like try to act like Dante. I was like, bro, it's not working out. So I would definitely say probably
Did,
Devil May
did
Cry.
this friend or cousin,
It's cousin.
did they ever like do the Nero he like revs his sword? They ever do that with like a backpack or something?
No, that would be really good. No, it was mostly because it was Devil May Cry 3 was the first one I played.
Oh,
And
that's a
he
good
was
one.
So my cousin was really into just Dante basically at that time.
Mhm.
No, I would say Devil May Cry.
All
They
right.
talk shit. It was actually pretty good.
Let's
I
shake
think
that
it's
back.
worth mentioning
Oh yeah, you go on.
before we keep going. One of the most influential things in gaming, period, that has anything to do with dialogue, is the online free game Facade.
I don't know what that is.
Doesn't
So
ring a bell.
if you look it up here, Soyboy, I think you might recognize this.
Maybe.
Shimik, you searched it up as well.
Oh my god, yes. Okay. I know what this is now. Yeah.
So it's the one where it's like it's not entirely artificial intelligence, but there
Oh yeah, of course.
are like semi-canned responses,
Yeah.
and for whatever reason, I think. So you basically, the premise is a couple invites you over for dinner, and you can type in whatever you want to say, and they will react to you. And one of the fastest ways to get kicked out of their house is if you just type in like
Pineapple.
watermelon.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was
something like
pineapple.
that.
It was either pineapple or watermelon, and they just
Yeah.
got like they put on the angry face, and then Chip, he's like, dude, he goes, you need to leave.
Yeah, because it's like a build up. They're like, oh hey, it's so nice seeing you, and you just go pineapple, and they go, yeah, man,
can go
this
now.
is it's I don't know. Maybe we should go for a walk outside. It's not a little pineapple. You need to leave.
You need to leave.
That actually is you bring that up. It's not a dialogue related, but that reminds me of for everyone that does know this in Civilization. I forget which one. Gandhi can be the most peaceful one, but if he gets such a low score, he goes to being the most aggressive motherfucker.
I forget. I think his text is pretty pedestrian, but it's just when you're playing the game, it's how quickly he goes from pacifist to like the dude who has the nukes before anyone else.
It's the funniest thing to say.
Yeah.
Alright. Second topic.
Do we want to? Actually, that's a good consideration. Should we do like like a max of what, 2 topics maybe?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay.
Yeah. It just depends on how long we want the episodes to be. If we want them to be shorter, then
I think just something that's like 30 minutes.
yeah. We can,
Well, obviously,
we can probably do 2 to 3 because
We're guinea
the
pigging
intro
this.
takes time.
Yeah, 2 to 3. That's good.
Alright. Well, doing. I can't read your handwriting. What's your writing?
Fighters.
Oh!
To make you start us off with
Yeah,
this one.
Chimmick will definitely start
Alright.
this one off.
All right. Okay. Before I give my
Consider so we know which
my
ones we got.
answer, and it's a bad one. I wanna say something. There is a lot to look forward to from the fighting game community for just this year alone. Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6. I mean, we're just going in circles with how good fucking Capcom is making stuff for us, right? And Bandai Namco and everything. I mean, goodness gracious, there's just so much coming out. And indies are pushing out more fighters, yeah, but it's mostly like single player couch co-op, those like Streets of Rage type games. It's my answer, it really simplifies this. Here. Anybody that plays fighting games knows this. You're kind of locked between a 2D or a 3D, even if they are 3D games. You can have your Guilty Gears, you can have your Street Fighters, where the core of the gameplay is locked into a side scroller type thing, right? You're not working around the Z axis. That's not in your strategy like a Tekken would be. And then you have your physics games. And most of them are really just janky, jokey, and they're meant to be that way. I mean, we're talking about what's that game called? Hype Beasts? What is it called?
Gang beasts.
Gang
Gang
beasts.
beasts.
Yeah, hype beasts
Yeah.
is something completely different.
Hype beasts.
Gang beasts, it's so on the nose about how like janky it is that it's funny, and it works in like a controlled demolition kind of way. UFC though, you knew this was coming.
We're gonna be here a while.
Oh,
Look.
for sure.
Look, there's a lot to be said, and I can't say enough about it. It has this mixture where, okay, you have the Z-axis, you know that you have to add that into your game plan, but then you have the other area of it, which is like, there are hitboxes, yes, obviously, any fighting game, any game that you have combat in has it, but it's all physics driven. It's all based around that, so you can have entire jank styles, but they're really wrapped around, and whoever created the first one back in like, I know it came around the time when Xbox One came out. There were Undisputed series, but we're not talking about that. Whoever came up with it had such a great understanding of jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, that it compounds into one really solid game. And I will always come back to it, and I'm really hyped about if we get a fifth one, because the fourth one wasn't that good compared to 3. But man, that's my answer. What about you, Soy Boy? You playing fighting games?
For fighting games, I've only really ever played 2, which is Super Smash, which I feel like it's a standard answer for the most part, and then Absolver, which I've played a little bit with Jules. But I used to play by myself. When I first got it, I basically like beat the story by myself, and I would say the combat system there kind of tripped me up, because a lot of it is you have to like use the special ability, which could be like a block or dodge or whatever, to learn the moves, and then you have to kill them. Or it was like
For Absolver?
Yeah. It was like learning the moves was a pain.
Yeah, Absolver would be. I mean, I guess we can just make this for both Soyboy and myself. I was gonna say Absolver. So the whole premise of Absolver is that it is first and foremost, it is a 1v1, like a PvP melee fighter. And you can choose between initially one of 3 different fighting styles, and then once you finish the game, I think you unlock a 4th one. But the idea is progression is 50-50 skill-based and deck-based, like a trading card game. So the cards in Absolver are fighting moves. And they're different fighting moves depending on the rotation of your character. Your character can be facing, the stance of your character. And there are 4 different stances for your character. Facing front left, facing front right, facing back left, and facing back right. And the cards, or moves, transition from one orientation into another. So when you build your deck, what you're really doing is you're building different combinations and sequences of attacks that flow into each other. So you might have a move that you unlock that starts off facing front left and it ends in a back right. So you make that the first move in your sequence, and the next one has to be one that starts back right. But you can get a back right one that moves to maybe front right, or you can get a back right move that moves to back left. And the sort of availability of moves and the power of moves does depend slightly on the orientation. Like it's not arbitrary. It's not like your left hook is arbitrarily tied to facing back right. Like your left hook will be tied to facing front left, because your left hook is going to come from you facing front left, flowing into front right as you throw that punch. Your body will naturally change its rotation. So that's why, well, not why, that's how all of the moves are sort of categorized. And like Soyboy mentioned, the way that you unlock moves is you fight enemies who use those moves against you. So instead of some arbitrary like leveling thing where it's like, congrats, you hit level 35, we're now going to give you these moves. In order to get like the roundhouse kick or whatever, you have to fight and defeat enemies who are using the roundhouse kick against you, which I think is really
the more
involved.
you talk about Absolver, the more I'm surprised that you did not like your time when you played UFC, because every time you talk about it, I'm like, that's how UFC works.
Because I tried UFC, man. It's just not the same.
But the difference is also that I feel like UFC is like we'll call it realistic, but it's always very arcadey in its
But
own
it's
regard.
arcadey, but it's also very insular. Like, it's got a very, and part of the reason why I'm not going to say it didn't take off. It did take off for like its debut year, 2017, and then it died right after.
It died almost.
But for
there.
2017 and a little bit of 2018, that game was like hot, and for one reason, those 1v1s, which to this day, if you go on, you buy Absolver, you play with the 50 people who are still online regulars, the 1v1s in that game are just extremely intense. Assuming you don't get insta-wiped by like someone who's got over 3,000 hours and you got, actually adequately matched.
Yeah.
They're really, really intense, and you don't have to think about anything else. Like, you can... It's super customizable. The way that you build your character is partially Dark Souls kind of like attribute increases, like increase endurance, increase strength. But at some point, those become arbitrary because you're so in tune with your own custom deck that you've built. And like I said, it's secretly it's a card game. It's secretly a card game, which I think is maybe why I'm more drawn to it than something like UFC or Tekken. Where instead of having to like super like down to the wire accurately learn a character's specific moveset, you just create your own and you get into a flow with your own moveset. And if it's not working out for you, you can change everything, including the ability that your character has. Like a class of character might a class of character might gain stamina back by dodging at the right time. Another class of character might gain stamina by accurately like parrying in the right direction, depending on the direction of the attack. Another character might not gain back any stamina, but what they do is like the more damage they take, they like build up a charge, and then once they build up enough charge, they can unleash it back on their opponent. You can think of it like having an ult or whatever, like a class ability.
Like Overwatch?
Overwatch is my favorite fighting game because I fight with my friends every time I play it.
You know what's funny? If we miscategorized it and we actually just did games where you fight with the people you're in a call with,
Yeah.
and the games like make you really mad.
Proceeds to list every game known to mankind. Yeah, but that's why I say Absolver. And another part of it is just the huge customizability of your character, like in terms of cosmetics, and how those cosmetics aren't just cosmetic. Like, they impact play, so you have stats to consider. And it's really deep, which is also why people bounced off of it and it died, because it's just a game that introduced itself and its systems way too quickly. Like, the quote-unquote campaign, it takes you like 3 hours. And then once you're done, you're in the deep end of the pool for the rest of the time that you play that game, because people will tear you.
You went from the kiddie pool to the ocean, basically. Because I remember, like, I was going around, I was beating, like, the bosses and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I beat the final boss, and I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And the game was like, oh, you want to play against someone online? I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess.
They whooped your ass.
I got my ass handed to me faster than my childhood, bro. Okay? That shit was bad. And at that point, I just stopped playing. Because I literally didn't know what to do.
Of multiplayers where, like, if the game dies down, all you have to look forward to as a, like, quote unquote new player is people just like you who jumped in supremely late as everybody left. And then the fucking sharks that you're swimming with at that kiddie pool, right? That's it. Like, the middle ground that all those people who spent like countless hours playing against and then got to a point where they can play against each other, like that is gone. They have gone to newer, brighter pastures, right? But it's unfortunate, and it happens to a lot of games. It encourages there's very few games can stand that test of time, and that's just beyond fighters. It's like GTA still surprises me. Fucking 10 years later, it is bigger than it's ever been.
There are 23 people playing Absolver right now, just to give you an idea.
The time of this recording, all-time peak was when it came out at almost 19,000 people.
And there are 7 billion people playing GTA 5.
In the entire world's population.
Who's playing GTA 5?
Including Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Yeah. But as far as fighting games go, that's about...
I think me and Jules have pretty low experience with those, because I think Chimmy was the one that played a lot of them growing up. But I don't know. Tekken I never really played.
I played a lot of Mortal Kombat, but I didn't know what I was doing because I was like...
and also never played Mortal Kombat. I've definitely tried Street Fighters like in an arcade.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but besides that, not much. And then again, like obviously Smash when it came out, but that's it was still a fucking family game. And then people are like, actually, if you play with items, you're actually worse than Mussolini. Like, oh my bad.
You're worse than Mussolini.
Yeah.
The realm of VR fighters, which Chimiki you have experience with, like whether it's boxing or God forbid they make some MMA VR fighting game, that's gonna be nuts.
That's
like that. Yeah.
That'd be that's an interesting sort of field to kind of watch it grow. So I'm
It's
curious to see
great
how
until
that
you realize
pans
you've
out.
played too many real fighting games and you don't have the fucking real life stamina to keep your hands up, so you're sweating like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Imagine you're fighting like in real life, and you say, "Oh, like you say out loud, oh shit, my stamina's low."
Oh, where
Like,
are your
you- like, thing like
hitboxes?
Yeah, where's my stamina potion?
You get knocked down and this lag.
Save quit. All right.
You get
last
to that
topic.
feeling when you
last
get
topic.
you get clocked in the face and you can't fucking rage quit.
Music. Would you look at that?
Hey!
Last topic is music.
I think
How
we
about
know
that?
who to start with.
All right. So I think we got to narrow this down because music's pretty broad. Let's make it like, you know what I really want to do?
What?
Tell me, sweet cheeks.
Never say these things again. Main area music. So like like a hub area. So
Yeah,
for
music that makes
example,
your toes curl. I know.
music
Oh,
music that has that
Yep,
has
that-
that grip of 87. That's all
dude,
I'm
that is the new name of my playlist for sure. Music that makes my toes curl
That's
for
so-
sure.
It's so ratchet.
I love saying that, bro.
So hub area music.
Okay.
Obvious example would be Firelink Shrine. For me, ooh. Tell you what, come back to me. But to narrow it down, hub area
Destiny,
music.
yeah, for sure.
You know,
Do
oh my
hub area
god,
music?
no. Actually,
Really?
never mind. Let's start off with me. Absolutely, Destiny 1 tower music. There's a playlist. There's a couple of songs that play when you're in the tower. But audience, if you get the chance, look up Tranquility. I think it's either by Michael Salvatore or Martin. What's his name? The guy who did
Scorsese.
the
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese. The guy who said Marvel bad, make me cry. Marty O'Donnell. That's his name. The guy who did Halo. Tranquility from the Destiny 1 soundtrack. That's a good one. But yeah, 100% Destiny 1. I think if you play the game, there's this idea that Bungie didn't come up with. Actually, it was way after that. Bethesda came up with this. They came up with this term for Starfield. They call it NASA punk, and the idea behind NASA punk, quote unquote, is that it's something that takes place in the near future, like within 100 years, within like maybe 200 years. So all the technology they're using is still technology that we have today. It's just that they've reached a little further with it. So like a NASA punk thing might be like, humans are already on Mars. They've been on Mars for a while, and now we're setting our sights on like, I don't know, making like gas cities in Saturn or something. But we're still using like, NASA rockets with like their multi-stage thrusters and all that. Like really kind of at this point clunky, soon to be outdated hardware, but we've already reached like Mars. That's what NASA punk is. And so Destiny 1, before Destiny 2 became like 50-50 sci-fi and fantasy, Destiny 1 was like 90% NASA punk and like 10% some sci-fi shit. And the music, I think, reflects that very well. It's just very padded, very synthy, but there are so many tracks that are just like orchestral.
Mm-hmm.
They're grounded. They sound very. They sound like music that would play in a like a NASA promotional video now, if that makes sense. I think when I say that, it makes it sound tacky because anything promotional is tacky, right? But just kind of grandiose, almost romantic, like the romantic era of music at the 1800s. You listen to these sweeping orchestral scores where, like, the strings dip in and out, and there's a soaring melodic line that's being played on the violins. That's Destiny 1, more so than Destiny 2. And the tower themes, rather, because there's a few, they actually provide a nice counterbalance, because when you're out and about and you're on patrol and you're doing the main missions and you're doing strikes and you're doing the Crucible, you have those themes that are, soaring or bombastic or kind of scary, sort of like early 2000s electro acoustic scores. But when you come back to the tower, it's like sort of light, kind of airy, just like orchestral stuff that's very grounded, very present. Some of it's kind of exciting, but it's laid back. It's laid back. It's chill. Yeah. So that would be probably one pick. Another one that I have, that I mentioned. So, Dark Souls and Demon Souls. I know I said hub music for Dark Souls and Demon Souls. 100% the character creation themes, and from the original Demon Souls, not the remake.
Wait,
the Demon Souls character creation music is something I like sleep to.
I'm confused.
It's incredible.
A hub, as in not main menu music, but like
No, like
what's in your
like the
hub
area.
world. Yeah, the area.
So for
Gotcha.
in Dark Souls that would be Firelink Shrine. In Bloodborne that would be the Hunter's Dream.
Yeah. Okay. No, I got.
It's
In
like the
Hyperlight
place where
Drifter,
like
town.
the vendors are in, basically.
No, I got you,
Yeah,
I
the
got you.
cities where you go to.
Here,
Destiny would
I
be the tower.
I got one,
Yeah.
but I want to hear Soy Boys.
Yeah.
I think for me, the one I will always recognize is the. Oh fuck! I don't even sound like a fucking fan anymore. The hub world for Kingdom Hearts.
Which one?
The first game.
The opening when you're in the island.
No, not the island. When you're in the city.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, that for me. Oh my, dude, my nipples get hard when I start hearing that song, bro. I play that game.
so sorry
I
I
replayed that
asked Soy Boy
game.
to speak.
I replayed that game a lot. In the past couple of years, but every time I get to that city, I just stand there. I don't even move. I just stand there and just let the music play for a while.
It's funny you mentioned that because the whole reason why I want to get a PS5 with a disc slot is so I can do that exact same thing. Because I have Destiny 1 on disc. So I all I want to do is just pop in and wander around and listen to music.
Yeah, like for me that I used to do that a lot. And I replay
Yeah.
the game. I would just stand there and just listen to that music over and over again. I loved it. It was actually incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. Music is powerful. Jimmick?
For me, I am really like cut between these two. I'll have to make a pick, but it's Persona. Both of them are Persona. I can't. It's hard for me to.
Episode,
it's
guys,
hard for
thanks
me
for coming back.
Look, it's hard for me to talk about music and games without talking about my two favorites, but Persona and Silent Hill 2. But here,
What is that? 32 minutes in a new show, and we're talking about Atlas games. That's
I
crazy.
swear to God.
by the way, check out my Catherine video. And I'm kidding.
Wow, we just talked about promo being bad, and he just did that.
Look, man. Look. Okay. I think that no one game. Okay, no, please describe hub. You just mean like music in any environment or in your home world, like in your
the town. So or
Okay.
whatever the place that you keep coming back to like
Okay.
upgrade or whatever.
I got
Yeah,
you.
so in
Easy
Persona,
one,
in
easy
Persona
one.
5, it'd be the cafe,
Yeah,
for
okay.
example.
Yeah, okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Mine, Beneath the Mask for that one. Mine simplifies to this. it's funny it's named this way. It's Sky Full of Stars. Years before Coldplay. It's the night theme when you do decide and you're able to, because Dojima lets you. The uncle there, when you're able to leave the house at night, which you're not able to in the beginning. When you first leave and throughout the rest of the game until you get to the winter area, there's a song called Sky Full of Stars, and it starts off with a Rhodes keyboard where it just the person just slides his hand all the way from left to right of the keyboard, and then they just
like
start
the roll
playing
one.
that shit. It is such a bop, and it catches me off guard every time. But I'm also crossed because of how much I love it. The main dorm theme, Iwatodai Dorm from Persona 3, the reason why I'll say Sky Full of Stars is no, Iwatodai Dorm is above that, to me at least, because it sets the tone for the fact that you're in a city now. It's so different from the stuff that Atlas has done before, from the Persona series. It is just different, right? But it's the fact that, you have this, at least to me, maybe why I'm so sentimental about it on a personal level, is the fact that like you have a new director, a new artist, and a new musician that haven't really done much like at that point in time, compared to their predecessors, not more so in the music department. Sorry about that, Atlas fans, but like the artist before him was a killer. This guy, speaking of Devil May Cry, the guy that did all the art for Persona 2, Persona 1, and all the Shin Megami Tensei stuff, Nocturne, that was the same guy that designed the devil triggers for Devil May Cry 3. The reason why we have them the way they look today is because of him, and all the designs for these personas, for these characters, like it's his style. But with that being said, relating to music, I think that why I get so sentimental thinking of you, a Todai Dorm, is it's going in, like making something new, knowing it's new, knowing it's like, shit, this hasn't been done before, but we'll just do it. I hear that, and that's all I think about. I just think like, man, this is a game that can't afford to fail, because this is the first 3D like Persona game, and they just came off of Nocturne. This is art that, like, new artist, this is a new musician, this is new shit, and it can't fail. And that's when I hear, I'm like, oh god. And then, to me, Persona 4 is like a victory lap, even though it was made at the same exact time, developed at the same exact time. Yeah, that's my whole take. You want to do one more bag? You say one more? One more.
Well, let's do one more. First, it's the first show. Let's do one more. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one.
Let's treat him.
Also, while Jules is pulling this one, I would say, I know we don't get a whole lot, but if someone watches this video and wants to add a topic in the comments, because we wrote a couple, but there's still a lot more that I think we're missing. Okay. We're not thinking.
A couple is a bit rich. We wrote down 16, so we've just gone through.
Is that not a couple? Fight me or not?
Well, a couple would be two technically.
You're a couple. Couple of bitches.
Game feel. Hey,
okay.
We talked about this in our was it episode 3 of our podcast. Go and watch it. So the idea of game feel is literally how the game feels to play, like physically in your hands, usually with a controller. But if you know a game that has good game feel with a keyboard, you know that would count as well. So, why don't you start?
You know what's funny? I might get some flack for this one, but I have been recently playing Crab Champions on the keyboard. Bro, the game actually slaps. I have to give it credit. Now I'll say this:
is that the free to play one on?
No, it's you have to buy it, unfortunately. But it's early access, and you know, it's pretty well made for what they've released so far, and they've updated a little bit since I bought it. But I have to say, I'm specifically saying it's good because of this. There was, before I came to see Jules down here, I had a horrible sleeping schedule. I was sleeping at 10 a.m., waking up around like 7 p.m. Right? And before I came down, I was like, okay, I gotta fix my sleeping schedule. So what I did was I stayed up just the day before I was gonna travel down here, and I stayed up the whole day. I slept like 28 hours, I think, total. And to stay up that night, me and a friend of mine sit up playing Crab Champions, and we're like, we're gonna get like the ultimate run where we can loop until Island 240 was the goal, because we saw some guy posting that he got to that island but on normal, which is, I believe, what the game is called, pussy shit. So we played I think we had played from 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. where he had to go to a doctor's appointment, and then we left the game on, and he came back at 1:30ish, and we played until 4 p.m. And for the first like 4 hours of those, dog shit games. Like we barely got to the first like final boss of like the 30th island before we restarted. And then the one run came where we got to island 150 on nightmare mode.
But just for context to the audience and maybe myself, is there a maximum number of islands? Just infinite?
Yeah, and for so far it's infinite. It's just a matter of how long can you go on. Because at a certain point, me and my friend were actually unkillable. You could not kill us if you tried. And we did so much damage that even the bosses would get obliterated in less than 10 seconds. We got all the achievements on Steam for killing a boss in less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds, all that stuff.
Solid.
So I have to like that, but the whole point of that game is also movement. It's a movement based game where you have to be like sliding and dodge. I think they call it dodging, but it's just like you jump and do like a forward dash, basically. And I gotta say it handles pretty well. Like I actually, I'm using mouse. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it has fucking controller support currently. I think they might add it later on, but so far it's a keyboard only game, as far as I can tell. And I've been Jules is looking up here. But I've been really enjoying playing that actually.
It looks like it looks like Doom.
Yeah. I mean, like
like Risk of Rain even.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. It's basically the way it works is I don't think you or Chimik know about it. You beat a level, and then at the end you're given a chest, and you can get 3 power-ups, but there's also items that give you let you get more items per chest.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole idea is that you're building you're making a build as you go through the levels, and that's ideally at some point you just become like an unkillable god, which is what happened that night. But I gotta say, like, I actually got burned out because we played the 150 islands in like the 6-7 hours after, basically. And my brain was cooked. I couldn't. I guess again, I was sleep deprived as fuck.
Yeah.
So my brain was just not working. But movement like that, the feel of that game when you like can get the multiple dashes, when you got really nice movement speed, when it works, oh my god, dude, it works.
This looks like how people have described the fucking fentanyl crisis to me as.
You're not far off from the truth. I'll be honest with you. But I think this is one of the games, and I have a feeling it's gonna get a lot better. In terms because they have like limited amount of guns you can use. Power ups are still being.
Well, to be fair,
yeah, it's still early. Actually,
crabs can't use that many guns.
You're dead to me. Crabs. No, but I actually made like the ultimate grenade, but like it's such a good game for what it like where it is right now. Because the other one that reminded me of this before we played this was Gunfire Reborn. But,
yeah.
But even then, like the game feel there was kind of okay. I definitely got to the end game where I was like doing like reincarnation level 10, and that was kind of fun. But at that point, you basically only run a few builds, and it just wasn't fun. In Crab Champions, you really could you can make any number of builds work, assuming you had enough of the same you got enough of the same upgrades to like make it do more damage. But for my money, Crab Champions. For sure.
Crab Champions.
Crab Champions.
I don't
mouse
think
and keyboard.
any one game I've played feels more polished and more every time I pick it up, it's just fun to play, and it just feels like really like a solid game than Binding of Isaac. Especially the last release of it. It is the definition of a polished to hell game.
Yeah,
and it makes sense
really
because
polished.
that game has been out since
I've been working on it since 2011.
since Newgrounds. Like that game has been around
since
long.
the Newground names actually. Yeah.
The original Binding of Isaac, I don't even know if it's on sale anymore. I think you can only. No, it is.
No, it is.
$5. Came out 2011.
Yeah. And now the latest one was Repentance, I think.
I'm looking for the most expensive one. Rebirth Complete Bundle. Right.
Well, that's just the complete bundle.
Repentance is the latest.
Yeah, Repentance is the latest one that added added an official ending to the game.
Finally.
Exactly.
I would say
but
that,
I would agree with you too. Actually, that game is extremely well polished.
What other factors contribute to game feel? It can't just be movement, right?
No, and it doesn't have to be a game that is slick, like Binding of Isaac, or Risk of Rain, or Crab Champions, or Doom Eternal is the one I was going to say as far as slick games go. Whatever the game feel is, it's some form of physicality that ties you into the experience that the developers want you to feel. So for example, it's really clunky to control your character in Resident Evil 1. That is intentional. It's also part of, they wanted photorealistic setting, and the only way they could do that was by having sort of static cameras, and the only way they could figure out how to navigate around a static camera game was to have tank controls with stop and shoot aiming. But lucky for them, that all factors into the game feel, which is to stress you the hell out and make you scared, even though in any other game a zombie 3 feet away from you is as good as dead, because you just point your cursor over their head and click.
Yeah.
But in Resident Evil 1, it's you have to take your tank controls into account. You have to aim with a joystick. You need a PhD to play Resident Evil 1. But the one I was gonna say, with that in mind, is Signalis, the game that came out last year. It's a very slow game. Thankfully it doesn't have tank controls, but the character you play as Elster, which is a kind of robot, a replica, if you will. She can't she can run, but there's really no reason to, and enemies are usually, they're about the same speed as you, so it's all about planning out your attack. And because it's a survival horror game, it's like 50-50 Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Like Resident Evil in terms of its gameplay, Silent Hill in terms of its story and themes. Like you have to kind of plan out everything. You have a very limited inventory, but in terms of how the game actually feels to play, like your character rotates like molasses. So you have to set up shop like in a corner of a room or part of the room where you know you can aim that like slow ass weapon, and then make sure every shot counts. And so the tension is inherently baked into how non-responsive the character feels. Another example would be Killzone. Killzone, I actually haven't played 1, but Killzone 2 and 3, and Shadowfall to an extent, are the slowest, most sluggish playing first-person shooters, I think, in all of console gaming. Like, you hit jump, and your character will jump like half a second later, but the trade-off is it feels more grounded. And, you know, that's kind of a divisive
it takes half a second to jump. No shit, it feels grounded, bro.
Bro, oh my god, it's so realistic. It takes 5 hours for me to have fun. Yeah. But like you'll hit the grenade button, and your character will like wind up to do a pitch, and then they'll throw it. Like you'll reload, and the reload animation is super chunky because the weapon's like sagging in your character's hand. And like you'll vault over something, and it like the whole camera judders as your character vaults over it. And pair that with, you know, vibration from the DualShock controller, and you get this game feel that's like super, super. It's not heavy like molasses. It's heavy like you are walking home from school and you have you're wearing your school backpack. Like you could still run, but you're definitely not going to be as fast as if you didn't have that backpack on you. If that makes sense. It feels like a really specific memory I'm trying to draw from.
that was some projection shit right there, bro.
Bro, that was some fucking reminiscence is what that was.
What about you, Chimik? You have an idea of what game has that type of feel? Boy?
Well, like a slower, like, I mean, it can be anything. The whole point is that
I went fast because I tend to like games where I move fast.
Hollow Knight's a good one for that.
So
Hollow
like
Knight is another good one, yeah.
Slower building up type of game feel?
Well, any
you can do either both. I went for the fast.
Well, I already
extreme.
said Binding of Isaac, but I can say I will say, man, I think Darkwood comes to mind.
Ooh, yeah.
Dark. I got some
That's
two curveballs here. Darkwood. It's so fascinating that you're at the same pace the whole game. There's no upgrades. There's no this. There's no that. I mean, you get new weapons, and it's entirely skill based whether you survive or not. It's a skill issue if you don't.
Absolute skill issue.
It's interesting that the world, the music, and obviously when we talk about atmosphere, it's all encompassing, right? To provide game feel. But Darkwood, man, it's interesting how it's able to speed itself up. You know, you were just talking about like, oh, well, there's fast or slow. Well, Darkwood kind of gives you a bit of both. It knows when to slow down. It knows when not to bombard you with enemies. It knows when to just creak a door open and just let you feel horror while you're basically waiting an inevitable fate for somebody to come out of a closet and try to shank you, or like a dog trying to chase you in the woods.
But cone of vision as well. It plays an equal part.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
Sort of game feel because you're constantly whipping that camera around.
You're constantly.
You only have a narrow.
You're
field
basically
of view.
spinning around in a circle the whole game. You're trying not to get dizzy. you don't
You're
want
basically
something...
the Beyblade was it part of the Red Sea.
Let it rip.
Call that
my favorite
Sharkwood.
factoid about Beyblade is just that one scene where it was like, did you know that Moses used a Beyblade to part the Red Sea?
That's basically Darkwood. Right?
Well, wait, what was the other one, Shimek, that you said that you... Did you not say you had a second game that...
Binding of Isaac.
Oh, the second Darkwood? Okay.
Yeah. Binding of Isaac
Roguelites-
is just such a solid game to play.
Roguelites
To
are
move around in,
poggers.
to just play it the whole way through, that it contributes to this like great experience. despite the fact that it is RNG as fuck, and that's the whole point. But Darkwood, it just knows when to pull punches, knows when to fucking absolutely chuck it to your face, and it does it in such a unique way that I have to list the two.
Yeah, but like, and also in terms of the actual physical game feel of when you sit down with either your controller or your mouse and keyboard to play Darkwood, you are spinning that camera around because you can only see, like, you might be in an outdoor area in Darkwood,
and it is top down, so you can
but
see
you can only
anything.
see the enemies.
But the enemies only appear like what you're saying.
In the
they
cone
only
of
appear
your
in
field.
where your light is pointed at, which is the front end of where your character is in that top-down game. So you're gonna spin that thing around, and that's why you have to play that game with earbuds with a headset.
Yeah.
Don't be scared, homie. Shout out
Have
Nate
you played
Diaz.
Have you played it?
Darkwood, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
It?
No, but I do know the ending. It's depressing.
It's depressing, so.
Well,
yeah,
that's all I got.
Well, I think for episode 1, that could be a good wrap. We'll call it there, and then we can. I think these are good ones to do when like we don't know, like we don't have like a good amount of good topics we want to talk about on the main.
Well, just every now and then. So Rojo and I went over this on episode 10, which you guys should check out, by the way. No, I mean like you guys, because you were there.
That's fine.
We mentioned that I think between now and summer we're gonna shoot for like once a month for I Can't Believe This Is a Podcast, because I think that makes the most sense in regards to where everyone's at and what everyone's doing. And then we can reconvene around the summer, June, July, and figure out if we can get back to the twice a month thing. As far as this is an idea that we've been wanting to do for. It's been on the back burner. I don't think it's like a serious. It's very kind of goofy Watch Mojo top 10 anime betrayals.
We kind of thought of this near the inception of this podcast as well, because I remember we had like we made a folder and a whole bunch of notes, and then we just kind of left it there. We didn't even think about it.
Like I even have the music for this ready to go. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a pilot. See how it goes. I know that to our 21 subscribers. You can have a look at our views. Do us a favor, spread the good word. shameless promotion of us, and we'll pay you with what, I don't know, emotional validation or something.
I mean, we don't even have do we know a single name? Because if we said a name, then maybe we could say that.
Our very first comment was a bot.
Was it?
Yeah.
What's the bot's name? Get up them.
It was like it was in Hindi or something. I don't remember.
Shout out to.
Yeah, shout out to X576. Click here for Toyota 72. Yeah.
Click here for Toyota.
We love you. We love Toyota.
No, that's a man who's into the Toyota-thon.
We all drive Toyotas, by the way. This is a Toyota sponsored podcast in Minecraft.
Can you say that?
No, we can't.
Yeah, we're not getting sued, bro.
We're going to leave it in there.
All
right, this has been Mom Found the Game Jar, or Game Jar for short. We'll do this sometime later.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's just not a set time. That's just whenever we feel like it, honestly.
Yeah. Such is the work of a good, scheduled, thought-out
podcast. All right, until next time, then.
Whoopie whoopie.
Bye-bye.